Hello and welcome to this episode of the Cozy Hearth podcast. I am joined today by Bonnie, Melissa, and Selina, scribes that we've all talked with before, and we're going to talk today about autumn traditions. But before we do, let's go ahead and begin by just kind of catching up with everybody and doing a brief introduction, just in case it's been a while since you've listened. So welcome everybody.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
And let's begin with Bonnie. Just would you mind just refreshing our listeners' memories about you and your books and maybe what you've been working on since we last spoke?
Yeah, sure. Well, I write cozy fantasy and I've had a story published in each of the Cozy Vales anthologies so far. And I've submitted again for the Autumn Tales. So I'm looking forward to that coming out. I'm working away on my full-length novel, but I've been sidetracked by writing a longer tale that's connected to my Autumn Tales tale, which is all set on a rune barge in my rural Vale, and I'm really hoping that it's finished for September, so it'll be out at the same time as the anthology.
That sounds great. I think
Awesome.
we're all kind of doing the same thing here, working on things that would come out in conjunction with the anthology.
Mm.
Great. Well, Melissa?
That pretty much covers me too, really. So I am mostly an author of cozy urban fantasy, but I have a short story submitted for the Autumn Tales anthology, and I am just beginning work on the sort of the next stage in that tale, which is hopefully going to be ready for September, if not very soon after. So carrying on the story that I've started in my short story.
Wonderful. And Selena.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I've contributed to both of the winter anthologies, and I'll be contributing to the autumn anthology. Um, I'm not currently working on Cozy Vale's work. I'm finishing up my autumn cozy fantasy series, but once I complete that, I'll be diving back into the world that I have coming in the autumn anthology. So excited for that.
Wonderful. And I write for Cozy Vales as Kit Muse, and I also write usually equestrian related fantasy and magic realism. And I have been working on a couple of different projects, but one of which is an expansion of the story that I also started in the Autumn Anthology. So yeah, I think this fall is going to be fantastic for all of us. We are all working hard on some great books. So everybody have your credit cards ready. Well, we're going to talk today about autumn traditions. And I thought this would be a good way to talk about not just autumn traditions in our fantasy work, because I know that our autumn tales anthology stories generally deal with some sort of autumn festival. So I'm sure there's autumn traditions in our various vales, but also maybe autumn traditions, since we're all kind of in different parts of the world, might be a great way to find out about different autumn traditions. So let's go ahead. We'll start with you, Melissa. Why don't we start with the Cozy Vales work? What festival are you writing about?
All right, so I'm writing about a festival called Fogfall, which is based upon a completely imaginary meteorological phenomenon where the vale that I've written in is mostly, well, it's a combination of lowlands and mountains, and usually the mountains are wreathed with fog, but when autumn comes, that fog descends to the lowlands, and they call that fogfall. And so that's when they've got a tradition where they have to harvest all of the thornberries in Thornberry Vale to make all the things you make with thornberries, but particularly thornberry syrup, into, well, you have to harvest them before the fog falls because once the fog's down and about, it's it's humid and muggy. Well, not muggy, it's cold, but it's humid, so the berries go off. So you have to do it beforehand, before the weather changes. And there's a couple of other berry-related traditions that they have as well. So I guess the traditions are, and they're like many autumn traditions. there's a lot of things around harvest, but it's an element of celebration. Yay, the harvest, and we can have fun and sing songs, and they do a lot of household visits and going to particular places to celebrate the fogfall, including going up into the mountains where for a change it's clear and you can look at the night sky, even though it's completely freezing. So that's fogfall in Thornbury Vale. Um, I'm trying to think of autumn traditions in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and we are a very temperate country, so we don't have a huge temperature change, although that said, it's been really cold here. But uh, there are a few things we do, and obviously there's all the harvest things. In my own family, we go apple picking. So finding there's a various wild apple trees and blackberries. Blackberries are a bit earlier, but the feijoas are ripe in autumn as well. So you go and get your apples and your feijoas and you make apple and feijoa cake or apple cobbler and things like that. And there's also recently New Zealand's got a new public holiday called Matariki, which is based on a Maori tradition where you go out and see the stars and remember your ancestors. And there's a whole lot of layers to it, which I'm not really qualified to talk about, but we've been encouraged to like form your own new traditions. And that's sort of in very late autumn. And so my family goes to the beach really early in the morning to see the constellation of the Pleiades, which is called Matariki, and to see that rising just before dawn. We're usually late and just see the dawn, but it's fun anyway. And it's nice to make a new tradition.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice to have that opportunity to form something new.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was very cozy.
Oh, thanks.
Selena, how about you? What autumn tradition is your Vale celebrating?
So my story is set in Honey Hive Vale, and they usually just celebrate the Harvest of Hope, which is kind of celebrated in different ways across Cozy Vales. But this particular year is a special year where they're combining it with the Moonbell Festival. There's a very large, very special flower that only blooms once every 10 years for one night only. And so the festivals are kind of combined into one. And the entire story is around the preparations for this Moonbell Festival and getting ready for the blooming of this very special flower.
Oh, lovely. That is so nice. And Bonnie, how about your Vale?
Well, there is a celebration, but that's kind of at the end of the story, and most of the story is about some autumn magic that's it's gone wrong. And they've got to make their way along the rivers in the autumn time to the village of Strawberry, where they're going to hopefully put things right. We'll see. But this story really reminded me of times when I was a kid and we would go out. We had this wooden boat. It was just big enough for us. And we would go out all the time in it when I was a kid. And this whole story brings back a lot of those happy memories for me. And I hope that some of my love for the rivers, being by the river, being on the river, comes over in these stories I'm writing.
Love the sound of that.
Yeah, lovely. And so my Vale is Thundering Grass Vale, which has surprise horses. And um, the tradition is the haying festival, where they bring in the hay, make sure they have it all stockpiled for the winter. And so there is a hay throwing contest to see who can throw the most hay the farthest. And I have a little halfling, half goblin, so a little guy who enters the contest. And well, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it leads to a lot of things that he never imagined.
Nice.
So I love the idea, Melissa, you talked about making your own traditions. We don't, other than kind of my annual hay purchase, which is what inspired my story, I don't have a lot of autumn traditions here. Um, what, and I guess Selena, Bonnie, feel free to jump in. Are there any traditions that you've made for autumn or any traditions that you think would be good to make for autumn?
Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, in
Okay.
my oh, sorry. Uh,
We'll start with Bonnie.
In my vale is called Medlar Vale, and we actually have a medlar tree in our garden. And one of our family autumn traditions, it's not a countrywide tradition or anything, is to pick the medlars and boil them up and make medlar jelly. Every year it's slightly different, Some years it's really light, like straw coloured. Other years it's really, really can be quite dark. And it's just part of what we do. And that smell, and it's all bubbling up with the sugar, it really says autumn to me. It's one of our family traditions.
Can you
Oh,
describe what a meddler is? I've never heard of that.
Okay, so imagine a really ugly brown apple. It's smaller than an apple, about that big. Um, and they look horrid, and you pick them and then you have to leave them several weeks to go mushy. They call it bletting. They're not really rotting. They just mush down a bit, and then you boil them all up and they look horrible, but it tastes so good when it's done.
Oh, wow.
I love medlars. I had to plant a medlar tree when I came back to New Zealand. They do look
Oh,
horrible,
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
but they taste so good when you make them into jelly.
they do.
wow. That's exciting. I learned something new.
Something to look for.
And Selena, how about you?
Um, I don't know that I actually have any set traditions. We kind of just do different activities around fall every year. Um, but that can range a lot. We have a local orchard near us, and they do a lot of fall events, and they have the best apple cider donuts and apple cider. So that's one thing that we do try to get out for each year. But other than that, finding pumpkins and pretty typical American kind of stuff, I guess. Um, but I am in Pennsylvania and we get a nice change of the seasons. So lots of brilliant foliage, plenty of activities around. Um, but yeah, we kind of pick something different every year, just make it fall themed.
Oh, that's nice though. That's fun. It's an adventure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So your leaves must see our leaves here in the Ozarks. We often don't get full color until like November. So your leaves must change like September, October-ish.
It really depends. So I'm in like southeastern Pennsylvania and I grew up about an hour and a half north of where I am now. And it's always interesting to go visit home because their leaves change a few weeks before ours do. So they are starting to get all the fall colors in September and October. We're getting it closer to October, November.
Okay, okay. I'm I'm horrible with East Coast geography, so my apologies.
No, I think it really varies depending on where you're at. And there's a whole, like, you can look up maps and it'll show you the progression of the fall leaves all the way down. The farther
Oh,
south
wow.
you are, the later in the season it changes.
Interesting. Makes it fun though, because then you could like travel and just like follow the leaves and have different adventures like every weekend.
Pretty much, yeah. We did do a road trip one year, which was really cool. Um, but we went up to New England and drove around a few different states and got to see the fall foliage up there. But I mean, for me personally, I think it's just as good in Pennsylvania. So
We went to Algonquin. Excuse me, going to struggle with this name. We went to Algonquin in Canada one time to see the autumn colors because, see, behind me we've got some beautiful autumn leaves, but that's from Christchurch, New Zealand, and most of the North Island of New Zealand is evergreen trees, so you don't get that whole autumn color change. So it was amazing to go and see it and um, read up on the science of the color change of the leaves and things because that's what I do.
It's fascinating. I mean, because I notice even here, like different years, if it's dry, they go like yellow and then they're gone.
So
And
you
then
don't get the
y-
same color
yeah,
change.
yeah, it just depends on precipitation and temperature, and you just never know. It's from year to year what's going to happen.
And the amount of sugar in the leaves apparently has an enormous effect,
Okay.
especially
Oh,
in the maple leaves.
yes, yes. Yeah. How about you, Bonnie, since you're in a different part of the world?
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking it's something I've taken for granted because, every year the leaves, they go all the beautiful colors, the reds, the oranges, and it's about the same time every year, October, the leaves start to go. And I just take for granted that we have that wonderful display every year, and it's not like that everywhere. So,
You absolutely have to appreciate it, especially if you
yeah.
don't have it. It's, oh, wow, look at that.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And I have lots of happy memories of my daughter when she was younger, running under the trees, trying to catch all the leaves as they're falling. There's so many, and it's still so hard to catch them. I don't know why it just is. So.
It really is. There's
Mm.
in one of the fantasy books that I read a long time ago, there was a scene where that like somebody said, "Oh no, 3 wishes if you manage to catch like this, you get a wish for every leaf you catch." So I remember my kids running around trying to catch leaves to get wishes. It's so hard. Might have to
That's,
write that into a story.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, I think we all probably were.
Hmm.
There's our next anthology, The Wishes You Get When You Catch Leaves in the Vales.
It could be a wide range. I like the sound of it. You should
Yeah.
propose it.
Oh God, no. What do you guys propose it? Or we just won't tell anybody, and then the episode will come out, we'll be like, ta-da!
Wishing on Leaves. Oh, it's a good title. It's got a ring to it.
It does. Oh my goodness. You're onto something. So, and I think and I think especially thinking about like Selena and Mai's experience, it kind of brings up, not just that the autumn traditions vary depending on where you live, but also kind of, you know, what you're doing. Do you have kids? Or, I don't have kids, and so I mean, I admit I still like to carve pumpkins because it's fun. My inner child appreciates that. But, I think the autumn traditions really depend on who else is in your life and what traditions they have. Um,
That's so true.
yeah, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but yeah.
I'm going to jump in with another New Zealand America's difference. I'm not sure about in the UK because I didn't try it there, but pumpkin carving is really hard when your standard pumpkins are ironbark pumpkins.
Oh, interesting.
I have bent many a carving spoon and knife trying to do it.
Oh my God, I never imagined.
Yeah, it's you see these amazing pictures of the pumpkins that get carved in America, and then you try it yourself and go, how did they even get the knife in? Because we just don't have the same pumpkins.
Wow. Although there's pumpkin carving and then there's pumpkin carving. Like on the TV show,
Yeah,
on the Food Network, like what they're doing is like a whole nother level than like what most of us are doing.
good to know. It's
Yeah.
not just an automatic fail.
We have soft pumpkins in the UK, so I guess they're commercially grown soft pumpkins. You can get the knife in, but like you say, the ones we do are pretty simple. Triangle eyes and squiggly mouth, and that's that.
Nothing
I've
to be sneezed at.
no, I bought stencils, but maybe I just don't have the patience to like trace them and then try to cut them. And do you carve pumpkins, Selena?
I've only actually carved them a couple of times. I didn't do pumpkin carving when I was a kid. We didn't really do like kind of Halloween sort of stuff. It was more just like fall harvest. So if we got a pumpkin, it just like sat on the steps. It wasn't carved or anything. Um, but I tried pumpkin carving in the early days of dating my partner. Um, he was very interested in roasting the pumpkin seeds. I think that's more what he wanted than carving the pumpkin. So we did give that a go a couple of times, but it's harder than it looks. I think we
It
might have also
is.
used a stencil.
Those pumpkin seeds are so good though.
Yes. Oh, it was so good.
Did he do anything special with them? I just used to put them in the oven with a little bit of salt on them.
It's been a while since we did it. I think we started by kind of like boiling them a little bit to get all of the pulp off. And then once they were all cleaned, roasted them in the oven with a bunch of different seasonings. So we made like 4 different batches with different seasonings, but I don't remember what they all were now. One was probably like a ranch seasoning. I'm sure there was like a garlic in there. There's a lot you can do with pumpkin seeds.
Sounds very ambitious.
It was a very large pumpkin.
Okay.
Always nice to get the benefit of something tasty at the end, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a huge fan of pumpkin everything. That's a lot of what went into my Cozy Autumn series, Pie Jinx, was all of the pumpkin stuff that I personally love. So, all the baked goods, pies, the pumpkin rolls, muffins, all of those kinds of things. I will take them all.
Oh, wow. Did you include recipes?
I've been working on a little cookbook with recipes. Didn't occur to
Oh,
me when I
how
released the
cool.
first book, but I have recipe cards for the first couple of stories.
Nice.
Good. I got a pumpkin recipe. So to share recipes, there's an author, her name is Beth Cato, and she lives in Minnesota now, and she runs a blog called Bready or Not, and she shares the most amazing baked good recipes. And there is a chocolate chip pumpkin bar that she shared the recipe
Ooh.
for. It's made with cake flour, so it's got a denser texture to it. And I play around with different chips like caramel chips, butterscotch chips. So I don't do just chocolate chips, but pretty much from like September to November, I'm baking a batch of those every week. They are absolutely amazing. I'll have to remember to dig up the link to it and put it in the show notes because it is delicious, especially if you like pumpkin everything.
Yeah, I would definitely be game to give those a shot.
I will find that link then because I love evangelizing about those bars. They're amazing.
Sounds really good.
So with that, one of the questions I wanted to ask will be a little controversial here. Pumpkin spice lattes, yes or no? We're just do like a fast round. So how about you, Bonnie? Pumpkin spice, yes or no?
Oh, yes, yes for me.
Melissa?
I'm on the fence. I love spices. I love the spices that go into pumpkin pie, but and put them into a tea.
Oh,
Chai.
yeah, that would work. Okay, Selena.
Yes.
Saw that coming.
I'm a yes too. I I deliberately stock up on pumpkin spice coffee every fall. So yeah, I drink it until it runs out.
Oh, it wasn't so controversial after all then. Everybody goes, yeah.
Not for this crowd. We'll see what our listeners think.
I foresee that being a big conversation.
Hmm. So I guess since I've shared my favorite baked good, and I know others have talked about things that they make, Bonnie has her jam. Uh, are there any are there any foods? We'll kind of wrap up here with, are there any foods that you reserve for fall or that you make in the fall? And I guess we'll work backwards. We'll start with Selena.
So I guess there's a couple I can talk about. Um, the first one sort of became a tradition for a couple of years, and then there was a big mishap, and I haven't made it since. But uh, I came up with a recipe for a pumpkin spice blueberry pie, and it
Ooh,
ended up being one of the best things that I'd ever made. It tastes just like mulled wine, but in pie form. Should probably make it again. It was really good. And I had people like asking for it the next couple of years after I had made it. But there's another one that I don't make, but my grandmother makes. And so she only makes it in the fall. And it's a very unique take on like a pumpkin pie. Hers isn't like a standard traditional pumpkin pie. She makes like a pumpkin custard pie. So it's very light yellow. It's got the little bit of cinnamon on top. And I think it's not quite as rich as like a normal pumpkin pie is. But I've never seen another one like it. And it's something I look forward to. Like every Thanksgiving, she has it.
sounds good. Sounds delicious.
It's really good.
Melissa, how about you?
I think we don't have anything that we specifically only make in autumn, except that there's uh, things that are only available in autumn. So I guess that sort of counts. Um, and I mentioned feijoas earlier, and so they're called pineapple guavas in some places. They're a South American fruit which New Zealand has kind of adopted as its own, and um, feijoa and apple cake is just the best, and we only make it in autumn because that's when feijoas are ripe. So you can't get hold of them any other time of year. They're not stored generally. Yeah, it's really, it is a love or hate fruit. Some people go, oh, that's disgusting. How can you eat that? And others go, trade bags of it for anything they can get hold of. So feijoa and apple cake, it's really good. And it goes well
Interesting.
with spices.
I bet with the guava and the apples. Yeah. And Bonnie, is there anything besides your jam that you usually do in the on the autumn?
Yeah, every year love to go blackberry picking, pick as many as we can from the hedgerows without prickling yourself too badly. And I like to make apple and blackberry pie, but my favorite thing to do is to turn it into ice cream, bubble them up with a bit of water and a bit of sugar, and then through a sieve so you get rid of all the bitty bits, and then in with some whipped cream. Oh, so good. Really, really nice.
Oh,
Oh, it
that
sounds
sounds,
delicious.
yes, it does.
Yeah, we always pick loads, and then you can just pop them in the freezer, the blackberries, because otherwise they don't keep. But yeah, every year we stock up the freezer with them.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, and I think that this is a nice, cozy place to leave this episode. I really appreciate you guys joining me to discuss our autumn traditions, both in the Vales and in the real world. Before we go, let's just take a moment, remind everybody where to find our books, and of course, all of the anthologies, as well as a list of all the Cozy Vales books can be found at cozyvales.com. If you ever need to find, the scribes' websites, all of that, cozyvales.com. And let's start with you, Melissa. Just remind everybody where to find your books.
Sure, you can find my books at my website, www.melissagunn.com.
Great. And Bonnie
Find me at bonnieaxton.com. All my links are on there. So
and Selina.
Pretty much the same. All of my links are at selinajeckert.com.
Perfect. Nice and easy. And all of my books are at kitauthor.com. Well, thank you again for joining us. Thank you to our listeners and our viewers for, going through this autumn journey with us today. Really appreciate you being here and picking up our anthologies. And don't forget to keep it cozy.